Yeah, that's right, we are back. Just recently I've been working on learning a few tricks on the pool coping that I've always wanted to learn. Now this has been a lot of fun, it's been pretty full on, loads of knocks and scrapes and a fair bit of frustration. So I thought that would be a worthy topic for a video, working out where the frustration comes from and maybe some ideas of how to overcome that frustration. Now the main tricks I've been concentrating on have been the frontside 50-50 grind, the backside 50-50 grind, the frontside stand-up grind, and also the board slide to fakie. Now I found on the first session I expected to take a long time to get the first one to come in. All of these tricks are a bit above my pay grade and I got really stoked when I got close to getting them in. My expectations were fairly low when I started, so therefore I wasn't frustrated at all in that first session. When I got the trick to come in, I got that stoke of yeah, and then I tried to push past that and make as many to come in as possible. The thing about the pool coping is it's pretty addictive. I love the sound, and also you can measure out the length of your grinds or slides by the blocks. So just starting off, maybe getting a 2 or 3 block grind, that can quite easily spiral into wanting to get a 4 and then a 5 and then a 6 and then pushing the envelope, trying to beat your personal best. And I think this was a possible source of some of the first frustration that I felt. Going back for a second session, I was thinking I want to get at least a 5 or a 6 block grind, and I'd go into it hell for leather and end up not really being able to make one at all for quite a long time. Then I'd get frustrated because I'd be thinking, well, I could do this last session no problem. Then I'd have to backtrack and make some smaller ones than where I left off, and eventually by the end of the session get a couple that were that sort of 6 or 7 blocks that I was aiming for. My experience with the boardslide to fakie really typified this process. In my first session, I got a few, exceeded my expectations and really got stoked. Going back, I was thinking of a new line over the hip, and I thought that'd give me more of that Jeff Grosso right round the corner. It'd give me the ability to carry my speed on and hopefully get more and more blocks worth of slide. Unfortunately, it really introduced a lot of frustration because I couldn't get that to work because it was a brand new skill going up over the hip and carrying all that speed forwards around the corner, almost like learning a new trick. And oh my goodness, did I make a meal of it. In the interest of full disclosure, here's a montage of every attempt that it took to get a half decent board slide up over the hip, all the way around and back in fakie. Now I found getting the board slide to fakie with this new over the hip line was a real head battle. There was no logic to it. Sometimes I'd get it going and I'd get the slide quite consistently for 4 or 5 attempts in a row, and then I'd go in for another one, get it completely wrong, and the rail would just dig in. I'd run off. Sometimes I'd come off the back, sometimes I'd run over the top of the deck. Each time I was trying to do the same thing as I did when I got a successful slide, and that's where the frustration really started to kick in. Why couldn't I just do a decent slide each time and then concentrate on coming back in? And also, when I did get the slide, why was I continually jumping off and not committing to coming back in? Also, what did I do differently when I eventually made that attempt back in? What was the golden secret? What was I thinking in my head? I think for the make, I was just running out of time on the session, and I was getting so frustrated that I just decided before I dropped in that I was going to make that one regardless of what happened. And I think it worked as I went round. It was a bit of a sketch. I managed to fall off, but I find as soon as I make one in, even if I fall off, that's when the floodgates open and I manage to make quite a few. Something clicks in my head, I get rid of the fear factor, and I can just throw caution to the wind with a bit of gay abandon. Whew, in she goes, and that's when I end up starting to make a few. I've been trying to develop consistency as well by just focusing on one trick per session. My frontside 50-50 grinds are getting a lot more consistent, but skateboarding is a cruel mistress, and I got a stark reminder of not to get too cocky and too overconfident on one of those frontside 50-50 grinds, sort of half bailed, and then the feet went back on the board, which is my worst nightmare. Whew, and the coccyx got the brunt of it. So at the moment, I'm just resting up and trying to reevaluate when I can get back onto it. Another idea to try and develop the consistency was to put all the tricks into a line. I had a really interesting session where I tried to do a frontside 50-50 grind, followed by a backside 50-50 grind, followed by the board slide to fakie. And oh my goodness, this was really tricky. I structured the tricks in the line so that the easiest ones were first. My rationale here was that I'd get more attempts at the harder ones if I could just get the easy ones out of the way, and thus increase my chance of making the line. But I think on reflection, I could focus on doing the hardest ones first, and then when I make one of those, there's more chance of making the line because my easiest ones come after that. Obviously, there was plenty of frustration and excitement. As soon as I made the frontside 50-50 grind, my mind was thinking, right, got to make the backside 50-50 grind. And as soon as I made that, it was all guns blazing. And I was finding that if I got on that board slide, oh my goodness, almost there, if I fell off on the way back in, I'd be super miffed because I'd wasted all of that attempt at the line. Eventually, after a fair few near misses, I managed to get the full line. Another trick I had a bit of a tinker with was the fakie slider. So basically a reverse of the board slide, coming in fakie, sliding along with the back wheels in a lip slide, and then coming back in regular, so clearing those back wheels over the coping. It was a really fun session, and I got a few micro sort of lip slides, and they felt great coming back in, but as ever my mind quickly went into greedy mode, and I wanted to get as many blocks as possible. I'm going to keep working on those fakie slider lip slides. I want to put a video together of the full battle, but I don't feel the end result is quite where I want it to be just yet. I want to get at least 3 or 4 blocks of coping on that fakie slide. The main thing I was struggling with was developing the amount of speed fakie in to get a good slide, and also being able to carve tight enough fakie to develop that angle across the coping that would allow for that grind to really travel around. Well, that's it for this video. I think overall I just need to calm down a little bit, temper my expectations, and try and remember you've only had one session at it, and when I go back just to really not expect to be where I was at when I left the session before. If it took an hour and a half to the stage where I was getting the trick every couple of goes, then it's fair to assume on the next session I'd probably get there after an hour. And then the next session after that, perhaps half an hour. And then the more that I practice, keep reducing that time down, with the end goal being that you arrive on the session and first try, whew, there's the trick. I find that if I'm sensible with my trick selection and I visualise it the night before, take all the necessary steps to try and develop each part of it, I can get to making the trick pretty quickly. However, trying to get that trick up to 100% consistency is something that takes me a much longer time. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit subscribe. I make new videos every week. You can also follow me on Instagram at JohnBishopSkate. If you want to become a Patreon, go over to www.patreon.com/JohnBishopSkate. As ever, my name's been John Bishop and I'm a middle-aged guy learning how to skate.